Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And this is the latest film in the MCU, and Doctor Strange finally gets his own sequel after getting some real good time to shine in Infinity War and getting a couple moments in Endgame and being a primary piece of the cast in Spider-Man No Way Home. And where we find the story is Doctor Strange winds up finding this young woman, America Chavez, who winds up being an interdimensional being who can travel through different universes, through the multiverse, and he must try to stop the entity who is trying to take her powers and utilize it for own selfish needs. And this film really anchors on two characters, but before I get into all that, this is the return of Sam Raimi to feature film filmmaking. He hasn't made a feature film since Oz, the Great and Powerful, and this film sees him coming in and doing his thing, because this is unabashedly a Sam Raimi movie. The bold and insane camera work in this film that just there's a couple of shots that are so out there that might have been a little nauseating, but in general the camera work is so impressive in this film and the visual storytelling is so fantastic that this puts so many of the MCU films to shame, because so many of them are just shot in a lot less inspired way. And there's very few MCU films that really feel like they have this much personality to them. And the visuals from like going through the different dimension portals, and there's this this mirror box that Scarlet Witch gets trapped in. There's different kinds of things here that are just visually delightful. And generally the CGI is incredible in this. And you even have, you could tell from the trailer, there's this zombie Strange at one point, and looks straight out of Evil Dead. Should have been Deadite Strange. But you also have Danny Elfman, who composes this film, and boy is he having a blast. And especially when this film is leaning into some of its really big horror type elements, which this is definitely borderline horror film for Marvel, and it's dark, and Danny Elfman's score matches it so perfectly. There's one particular instance where they use an electric guitar to channel one very specific kind of thing going on in the film, and that just brings so much joy to it. And from the action standpoint, there's a lot of fun and inventive action sequences in this, including one centered around music between Strange and, let's say, a familiar foe. And it's quite interesting how it all plays out, and I was really impressed by the visual dynamic of this film. Now, from a script standpoint, it has a very specific and streamlined basic concept of Strange trying to stop this entity specifically, and what's motivating this entity is loss and trying to get back what they've lost. And in many ways, it's something that is very deeply rooted in, you have Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, and Wanda Maximoff both experiencing this parallel journey of confronting oneself and trying to grow and learn from them. And I think that's one of the most interesting dynamics that you've seen antagonistically in a Marvel film, is this really introspective kind of thing. And I feel like they're both able to get to a particular place beyond where they started in this film, and that's the progress, right? Now, I do have to say this film is zipping along at a breakneck pace, and maybe a little too quickly, and might not have fleshed out some things as much as they probably could have. And I know this film had a 2-hour and 6-minute runtime, and a lot of people were like, how could this possibly be this long? And it works at it, but I do think that this probably would have benefited from a little bit of extra time to breathe and really flesh some certain things out. they do have some moments where it's a little bit slower because they're dumping a lot of exposition and, you know, background character building for Strange and Chavez and their connection, which I really appreciate their endearing dynamic here. But the tricky thing is, outside of Strange and Wanda, not many of the characters in this film have a whole lot of depth and don't get a whole lot to do, and really get to be fleshed out. Because you have Wong in it a lot, and Benedict Wong is fantastic, but like he doesn't get a whole lot to do besides move plot points along. And even America Chavez is a bit of just a plot point herself. And there are some intriguing cameos that wind up being in this film that are hinted at in the trailer that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, they don't have a whole huge bearing on the plot, but they're also really fun to see. And from this film, you'll get to the end, and I felt like I had a blast. I think this was a lot of fun. I thought this was weird and different, and I think this is what Marvel needs to be doing at this point, and avoiding that formula. It delivers on the action, it delivers on the direction, and it delivers, I think, on both Wanda and Strange. And I think where Wanda's character goes in this film will, you know, divide some people. I think it's a natural progression of where her character had been after WandaVision, and pushes her to a place where she can finally get past this trauma that she has experienced so much of. And in the end, I think this film is a crazy thrill ride that has a lot of fun with its multiverse setting and the way you could leverage that with all these different characters. And, you know, it might be a little rushed, it might be a little clunky, but in general, I think this is a bold win for Marvel, and I definitely look forward to checking this out again soon. But those are my thoughts on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland review.